Hello, good evening, everybody. Hi, this is Greg Valentine. You know me. I just want to say a couple of things. One, I want to say good evening to everybody. Today is well, right now it's I guess 12 o'clock, and when I started writing this was actually 11, so now it's 12 o'clock, and it's Happy Resurrection Day. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And what happens is that this is the day. Well, we keep changing the calendars, but this was the day that Jesus rose from the dead. This is the morning. So the morning that Jesus rose from the dead, there's a lot of opportunity to talk about what he did for us and that fact that he rose. And that's, it's amazing because he did something amazing by becoming one of us. He died on the cross for our sins. Um, he lived a perfect life. He died on the cross and he rose again the third day. And this is the third day. This would be the day when Christ rose from the dead. So I want to talk to you about a lot of things. I have many things to talk to you about, many wonderful things and good news and everything like that. I just wanted to share some things. I just want to say once, thank you for listening to my channel. There's millions of other channels you could be watching, but I just want to thank you for just watching my channel, even for however long you watch it for. I got many things I want to share with you, so I'm just going to go ahead and share with you quick. I don't want to spend forever just talking, but I'm just going to share a couple of things. So number one, I want to say we're alive and well. We're here in New York City, and pretty much I'm here in my kitchen, and my kitchen I have a green screen and everything like that. So I'm here in my kitchen, and I'm with my family. We have been doing well, praise God. We went to the park. We got a chance to go to the park before they locked the parks down. We got to go to a 7-Eleven before 7-Eleven closed down. I go to work. I still have my job. My job is considered essential, so I get a chance to be out there and to be able to help people and to navigate them and keep them sane. It's a job of keeping people sane because you know what happens when you have a thing where people are constantly being what's that word? You're isolated and you have to be stuck in your house. You get a chance to go out to one of the essential stores that our hardware store that we work at to be able to help people to get a chance to do something different and do some repairs to their home as well as to do some gardening and stuff like that. That makes it really wonderful for them as well because that way they can find creative things to do. They can see things growing and know there's life out there. I learned a lot of things in the last couple of days. I've mentioned before about the germ theory and about the terrain theory, and I kind of had it all mixed up, and I hadn't got it all because I'm kind of formulating and getting it all into my head at the same time. So when I get the information in my head and then having to try and formulate it, and it's kind of like I need to study it more is what I have to do. So, but what happens like the last couple of days I've been kind of looking into this, and I got a little sick the other day, and what happened was like my stomach I had a stomach bug, and pretty much I found it was something that I ate. It wasn't anything coffee, nothing coffee, nothing in my lungs, my friend, but it was just pretty much my stomach. And I stayed home one day. I didn't take any Pepto. My dad's all about Pepto. It's whenever you get a paper cut or something, he's like, put Pepto-Bismol in it. That's his cure for everything. And my wife bought some Pepto, but I didn't take it. So just let whatever my stomach thing, had to do a little bit of, up from the belly, had to, pukey, and then out from, pretty much. And I had to do that a couple of times, and, my body got better, and so I'm much better now. So thank God for that. I was able to go to work today, and thank God for that. I had many discussions with people at work today. We got a chance to sit down and just have a deep conversation. And one of the things we got a chance to talk about was about the germ theory and the terrain theory. So what I want to do to just kind of like mix things up a bit, I finally I got this machine here. I want to show you. I've been talking about this machine forever, and so this machine here is a fresh air surround by EcoQuest. And this machine I ordered off the internet, and pretty much what I did was that if you look at my Instagram, I took this machine apart completely and right down to the fan magnets, and pretty much I had to get it all cleaned up because I'm doing a presentation with this soon. With some very important people, and so I got a chance to get it all ready. So this machine is called the Fresh Air by EcoQuest, and this machine here is it's a powerful machine. What it can do, cover 3,000 square feet. So this machine is I have this is the second one actually. I have the first one I have is over there. You can hear it in the background, a little humming. That's the fan working. That's the machine that's working. So this one here is off. So what happened was like when I ordered my machine off the internet, the power plant wasn't powerful enough. So because it wasn't powerful enough, I had to contact the person that I purchased it from, and I had to make a conversation with them. And long story short, I had to end up ordering another one directly from Vollara from EcoQuest. Well, EcoQuest is no longer EcoQuest now; it's Vollara. So anyway, so what happens is I was able to purchase. So this finally came in the mail today, and so on my way to work, I got a chance to see it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open up the stuff and see. I'm going to open it up here, wear my trusty dusty blender shirt, as you can see, because I also got Blender 2.8. Blender 2.82, that's the newest version of Blender. So I've been doing some blending stuff and everything like that, and getting back to my blending. Because in the meantime, I've been making creatures, And so it's been fun because at work I get a chance to do some of these things. So I got a couple of things I want to show you. Oh, okay. Huh. Missing my other piece. Where's my other thing? Oh, dang. Oh, goodness. Okay. All right, so you see my true reaction. The other thing I have is back ordered. My fresh air. It's a little personal device. I put it around my neck and I can breathe with it. So I can find my other one. What happens is that my personal buddy, I have it and I can use it. And my other buddy that I have, I don't know where it is right now. It's on the table. It was on the table. I have to go check for it real quick. Well, anyway, what happens is this. I just got my power supply. So I got my power plug. This is my power plug for the fresh air. So that's great. I got my power plug, but I didn't get my fresh air buddy, and I'm upset about that because, I wanted to get it, and so now it's on back order, which is horrible because, I wanted to show everybody this machine. But it's supposed to be an interesting point because what happened, I want to share with you this about my machines here. What these machines can do, they can clean up to 3,000 square feet. 3,000 square feet. What it does is that it ionizes the air, so it sends like a particle wave into the air, and it makes all the particles stick together, and when they stick together, they become heavier in air and they fall to the ground. Not only that, it sends out a layer of hydrogen peroxide into the air, which, as you know from your studies, the hydrogen peroxide is actually one of the, what do you call those things, a cleaner? And it's like kind of like, like a Lysol, kind of like a cleaner. It's like a natural cleaner that's produced, in real life and everything like that. So what happens, this machine makes it, and what it does is it disperses it into the environment, and so it cleans on surfaces. So one, you have little particles falling out of the sky. Two, you have hydrogen peroxide being kind of misted into the air a little bit. Not so much like a lot of it, but just kind of slightly misted into the air from the purifier plate. Then you also have another thing too called the UV light, which pretty much kills anything that's airborne and anything that's on surfaces, and then they call it an activated oxygen. So it creates this thing called an RCI cell. An RCI cell. I don't remember what it stands for. The RCI cell stands for, but I know what it does. It sends like it sends with the fan and with a lot of things. There's 5 technologies that go out there, and what it does, it makes everything that's in the air gets dropped out of the air. Everything that's on the surface gets cleaned, and gets purified, and also it makes fresh air. It gives it a little bit of O2, O3, a little bit of ozone, so it makes fresh oxygen, and so when it hits the surface, it binds, and it's one machine that makes fresh air. So this machine, my friend, it makes fresh air and it disperses it into your house. And so what it does also cleans your doorknobs, it cleans under your doorknobs, it cleans everything. So wherever there's a surface in your house is cleaned by this machine. So that's one. Number 2, I got the plugs for this thing because when I first ordered the plugs, it did not come in. The other thing that I ordered is back ordered, so I'm upset about that because I was going to show you this really cool machine. All I can show you is I can show you that this thing is not going to work. This thing will work. Oh, cool. They gave me an additional plug. This is just great. This is just absolutely great. So now I have a super duper heavy industrial strength plug, and let's see if this actually works out, because it's going to be a bummer if it doesn't work out, but they gave me a lot of cable here. So what happens is this. I'm going to unplug this. This is a 3-prong, baby. 3-prong. Gotta plug this 3-prong. I hope I don't pull my lights out when I do this. But anyway, messed up. Okay, so here, I should plug in the thing first, and then show you how it works when it works, because it's going to work, because this is what's supposed to do. And let's check the amperage. Right here you have it. That's right, 38 volts, baby. 38 volts to 2.0, 2.5 amps. Okay, output's 2.0. Let's see if this baby can have kick to do it, because the one that I have up there, output's 2.5. 2 outputs actually, was it 3 amps? Okay, well anyway, so this has enough volts. Let's see if it has amps to do it. So plug this sucker right in here, baby. Boom! It's plugged in. Alright, Jimmy's plugged in. That's one. Number 2, this main portion right here. I'm going to plug this Jimmy right into there. Okay, so you're plugged in, everybody's plugged in, everybody's ready? Let's ready to rock. Right. And here you have it. As you can see, the machine is on. Okay, now let's see. We can look at how much it is. This machine has, okay, you see, get close. Right now it says RCI. And you can see it, RCI cell. What we're going to do, I'm going to change the fan setting to, alright, yeah, that's here. 1200, 750. 750. 750. Oh goodness, what just happened? Wait, let me slip it. Yeah, okay, cool. Couldn't quite see it there. Alright, let's see if I can get this angle. I'm sorry about this, folks. Let me see if I can just hold it steady and do it with this hand. Alright, let's see, right there. Okay. Alright, you got there. Alright, 1250. Goodness. Sorry to do this. It's like, put it on my shoulder and like that. Okay, here it goes. 1250. 1500. Alright, 1500. 1750. 2000. Let's see, 2250. You got, yep, 2500. 2700. 3000. 3000 square feet, baby. This machine can output 3000 square feet. And the fan setting, you can set it. You can increase the fan setting. So this machine is ready for testing, ready for floor sampling. So here's what happens, right? Whenever I do this machine, I let people borrow it for a few days, and they get a chance to sample it in their home. You can actually hear it producing the different things. That little hiss, that's when it kicks in the RCI cell and begins producing like the ozone when it hits a certain number. But when we have it in the house, we'd like to have it at a certain maybe about 1,000 square feet, because you can always set it. Let's see if I can hold it steady, so you can see the numbers. There you go, there. 1700. It's right there about 1,200 square feet. Because you can have different settings, and there's also different away setting modes. So you have this one here. This is the away mode, and the away mode here is, I'm going to bring it down for you. This is, should I hold the angle right? Okay, good. 1,250 square feet. Okay, now this I'm going to push. This is the away mode 1. This is the away mode, and you can hear it. This is away mode 2-hour setting. This is 4 hours. This is 6 hours. This is 8 hours. And let's go back to pretty much the setting that you had before. Right now it's on low ozone and low output. It's 1,250 square feet. That'll do everything in the house. Not only that, it also helps plants grow. And pretty much it's a very good machine that has different reminders on it. Right here is a, you can lower it, but this here has a reminder and reminder reset. And this here is the on and off switch. So I'm going to turn it off right now. And this is on and off switch. So yes, my friends, this machine, it works. I'm going to get a chance to actually use this and be able to present it. So this goes back to what I was saying before about the whole presentation thing. 1, all bacteria and good bacteria. All bacteria might be good, all may not be good. You can't use all statement on usually everything. There's only time you can use all is when God says something. He says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." That means everybody has sinned. When there are certain things you can't use absolute statements. That's one thing I'm learning about life. In life, you cannot just say something 100%, 100%. So what happens is this, right? I have this machine here. I just finished showing it to you and what this machine can do. I have a proof book, a book called the Proof Book, and this proof book happens to be, okay, it's right here. It's a proof book, and this is the company Proof Book and what the technology does in light of the fact of what it can do, and in light of the fact of what it can do in terms of, like, different viruses as well as viruses on surfaces. And because what I've been saying before is that viruses aren't alive. And so how I came to this conclusion was because listening to different people talk about what viruses are. They talk about living things versus non-living things. There's always been a debate about whether a virus is alive or not. And so they say it doesn't react like a living thing. Like a living thing, it has a head, a tail, no, it's more than that. A living thing has ability to reproduce, has ability to not only reproduce, be able to eat, ingest, live, reproduce, influence the environment. And so just because it can influence the environment and do things and, copy itself, doesn't mean it's alive. And so what happens is it's kind of like, I won't do it justice. I'll just explain what I know. And so what I know is this. You have a thing where you have bacteria. Bacteria is a living creature. You have fungus, and fungus are a living creature. We have cells in our body. We have antigens, and we have white blood cells, and white blood cells are part of our body as well as red blood cells. And so what happens is that a lot of the germ theory says that something from outside is going to come in and invade you and mess you up. So invade you like a virus, a single form creature is going to come and get you, and it's going to mess you up, and then you have to kill that single form creature. Like let's see, like a parasite. Let's say a parasite. Let's say, for example, like you get bitten by, you have like a stinking tapeworm in your stomach. A tapeworm is a parasite. It comes from outside. You don't have that inside you. It comes and lives in you, and it wreaks havoc. Wreaks havoc to the host. Eventually, it'll kill the host, and it'll continue to produce more of itself by killing you. Whereas, so you have that, and those are living creatures, living organisms, and stuff like that invade your host. Um, and that's something big. You have another thing too, where in terms of that's what a germ theory basis is. Usually, there's something that's out there that comes inside of you, and when it comes inside of you, it's set to mess you up. The terrain theory says that your body is like a temple, and your body is strong, but your body has a lot of things live inside of it already. And so what happens? Those things that live inside your body, the bacteria, and then the germs and the fungus and stuff like that, they all kind of like your body is like it's like a world unto itself, right? And so being a world unto itself, you have a thing where certain things, external factors, not like a virus, but like external factors, like there's stresses, you're getting beat up by a mob of people, or pretty much you're getting bombarded with like let's say radiation or something. What happens is it causes the internal systems to malfunction, and so when the internal systems malfunction, there's an imbalance with all of our people inside of us, our nations and our creatures that live inside of us. Because they say we inhale. If we're gonna inhale viruses and bugs, why we don't always get sick? So you see something usually happens where from the bad diet that we have, or from the stresses in our life, or lack of sleep, or pretty much something we ate, or something that that's not that something that we ingest or brings destruction to our biome, to our microbiome inside of us. What ends up happening is that it ends up we getting sick, and then from there we get sick, and then we get sick because our internal cultures are being messed up. So what happens? When I was listening to a doctor. And I was trying to like put this all together, how I could be like concise and get everything I wanted to get across without being like long-winded and taking like 40 hours trying to put a video together. I thought I would just like share a couple things from my Facebook, and so you can find me on Facebook. My name is Greg Valentine on Facebook. You can find me. You can find me also on Instagram. I am Dino Candidates on Instagram. Instagram is very mild compared to all my other stuff. So if you go to my Instagram, you get little politics, little anything. You can actually just kind of sit and enjoy my life. If you watch Instagram. If you want to hear like a lot of my stuff is Facebook and Twitter, and so for the most part though, a lot of stuff that I post, when I learn something new, I post it to Facebook, and when I do something like create something, I post it to Instagram. So you find a lot of my creations and things I make, like little creatures and stuff. I find those on Instagram. If you want to find like my opinion about stuff, you find it on my Facebook page. So anyway, so one of the things that was we were very concerned, we here in New York, about what they're doing to our society. And so, see, the thing is that they went from being like, this is not a non-issue to becoming a major issue. And one of the things is like becoming a major issue for us, that they're slowly locking down everything. They've shut down the world for everyone, and the whole world has become almost like a police state. And so, by the grace of God, nobody that I know of has been detained or messed up by the cops in any way. No one, I haven't been, and thank God for that. I'm able to kind of, go to work and come back from work and spend time with my family. My family can go and go shopping, and we're not being harassed by anybody. And that's pretty good. The other thing, too, is that what I noticed is like, there's a lot of things in terms of like, how places that we like to go. We can't go to the museums. We can't go to the mall. We can't go to bookstores. We can't go to public library. We can't go to. I mean, I said already. We can't go to anywhere that's not essential. So you have to go to essential places. So it's one of those things where you get kind of like you want to go places. You want to go. So okay, I'm back again. So okay, one of the things I wanted to read to you was about one of the things I wrote. You cannot catch bugs, germs, bacteria, or candida fungus. And so I wrote on my Instagram, on my Facebook page, it says, this has been a very rudimentary and insightful time learning about medicine and germ theory and the power of environmental influence on the human body and our fleeting constitutional rights. I just finished reading an article about Antoine Bechamp and Louis Pasteur, and I share it with you. It was so good, I think at some point I will try to make a live stream and just read the whole article to the camera. Here you go, the article. So the article, I'll put a link to where it is, but I'll read it to you. It goes, Healing Naturally by bee.com. HealingNaturallyByBee.com. You cannot catch bugs, germ, bacteria, or candida or fungus. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I'm going to read like a little bit of it. But reading a little bit to you, that's going to be able to kind of get my point across. Here we go. Any second now. So okay, as that's coming up, I just want to say, so we've been able to travel and be able to do stuff, but I would love to have some Chinese food. I mean, that would be great, but there's no Chinese food anywhere. So that's one. There's two. It's like you have food from here and from our home. You have to kind of bring your own food wherever you go anywhere. And work, it's interesting because they close at around 6 o'clock now, and so that means that you have they don't let us just go home. We have to stay there pretty much. And one of the things is like, it's as you're staying there, you're just pretty much having to figure out what you're going to do with yourself. And we're doing a lot of work, and it's been good. But here we go. You cannot catch bugs, germs, bacteria, and fungus, or candida right here. See, you cannot catch. Right, and this is the name of it right there. My screen is cracked because this fell off when the machine went. April 3rd, 2015. The following text disproves the germ theory of disease, as promoted by the medical industry today, which was initiated by Louis Pasteur in the early 1800s. It confirms that you cannot catch bugs, germs, bacteria, or candida fungus. All right, so it goes in and starts explaining Louis Pasteur, 1822 and 1895, and so it says he was a plagiarist and an impostor. That's harsh words. A plagiarist is someone who uses another person's words or ideas as if they were his own. An impostor is someone who attempts to deceive. Louis Pasteur is a French microbiologist and chemist born on December 27, 1822, in Dole in the region of Jura, France. His discovery that most infectious diseases are caused by germs, known as the germ theory of disease, became the foundation of the science of microbiology and the cornerstone of modern medicine. Pasteur also developed pasteurization, which was named after him. Pasteurization is a process by which harmful microbes in perishable food products are destroyed using heat without destroying the food. However, this is not true. Pasteurization does not kill all supposedly harmful microbes, harmful according to the medical industry, and it definitely does damage the food by destroying natural enzymes and nutrients. We have enzymes and nutrients that we need, and that's something that I talked about too, that we need to have that balance to get that enzyme and nutrients back into our body. And so this is kind of having conflicted stuff. Well, it's gonna just keep reading. Okay, well, how is this? However, Louis Pasteur was not an honest, credible individual. If you look back into history of the medical profession and the various ideas regarding the cause of disease that were held by leading physicians before Pasteur's first promulgated his notorious germ theory, you'll find convincing evidence that Pasteur discovered nothing, and that he deliberately, appropriately falsified and perverted another man's work. His true character and methods were brought to light by Miss Ethel Douglas Hume in her book Pasteur or Bechamp, written in 1923, the title of which has since been changed to Pasteur Exposed. Okay, another book by R.B. Pearson, Pasteur, Plagiarist, Impostor, was originally published in the 1940s with the new edition, The Dream and Lie of Louis Pasteur. Interestingly enough, Pasteur instructed his family never to release lab notes, and after his grandson died in 1975, they were finally released. Gerald Geeson, a science historian, was among the first people to thoroughly review those notes. In 1995, which is ironically proclaimed the year of Pasteur, a Geeson article was published in the New York Times proclaiming that Pasteur had lied about his research on vaccines and germs and that most of his ideas had been plagiarized from his contemporaries. His article, Pasteur's Deception, claimed that Pasteur is in the end a fraud. It was Anthony Bechamp, that's Bechamp, Antoine Bechamp, a contemporary of Pasteur, who discovered the true nature of germs, bacteria, viruses, etc., and they were pleomorphic, capable of changing from one type of organism to another. Later on, another colleague of Pasteur's college, Claude Bernard, described the milieu, or the environment that causes those changes. On his deathbed, Pasteur recanted, saying that Claude. However, it says that however, since the germ theory of disease is so profitable, the medical world has written off his final statement as madness of a dying man. We should all be so mad. Another problem with germ theory of discovery is discovered when we look at Koch postulates. Right? Postulates means accepted statements as a fact. The germ which caused the disease must be found in every case of the disease under the condition which could explain the disease. The germ must not be found in other diseases or healthy people. The germ could be isolated and used to induce an experimental disease in animals which resembles is like the original disease in humans. Pasteur never quite fulfilled all of these rules. He was not able to find the germs in all cases of the disease, and there is where his research became fraudulent. Additionally, many so-called pathogenic germs are often found in healthy people. And finally, when Pasteur passed a germ from one animal to another to cause the disease, he did not pass the germ alone, but took some blood with it. Injecting toxic blood from one animal to another will guarantee the receiving animal becomes sick. Antoine Bechamp's discovery. Bechamp's discovery. Professor Antoine Bechamp A French biologist, 1816 to 1908, who was Pasteur's contemporary, lived at the same time and they knew each other, developed and demonstrated a pleo, that's Pleo, pleomorphic, many forms, see a more complete description below, theory, essentially that bacteria change form and are not the cause of, down, but okay, well here it goes. Essentially, the bacteria change form. I'll read a little bit more just in case. Pasteur's contemporary lived at the same time and they knew each other. Developed and demonstrated a pleomorphic um, many forms theory. Essentially, that bacteria change form and are not the cause of, but the result of disease arising from tissues rather than from a germ of constant form. This has also been called the cellular disease theory. Benchamp's discovery that these microorganism germs feed upon the poisonous material which they find in the sick organism and prepare it for excretion. These tiny organisms are derived from still tiny organism called microzyma. That's microzyma, microzyma. These microzyma are present in the tissue and blood of all living organisms where they remain normally quiescent, quiet and not acting, and harmless when the welfare of the body is threatened by the presence of potentially harmful. Hi. Okay, so it says the microzyma. Okay, a transmutation takes place called pleomorphism. The microzyma change into a bacterium or virus, which immediately goes to work to rid the body of this harmful material. When the bacteria or virus have completed their task of consuming the harmful materials, they automatically revert to a microzyma stage. So it changes from one form, changes from one thing to another, and it turns back. So what happens is like it turns like from this one thing and not being able to being harmless and being quiet and not acting or anything like that. And what happens is that when it's faced with a presence or some kind of situation, it transforms into something else and is able to deal with and deal, and after it turns back into what it was. It's kind of like a you know that robot they had in that Superman, that robot that's kind of like this, and it was kind of robot, and after that it turned into a big monster, and it kind of just started attacking, and it had like laser beams and whips and stuff like that. It was like an Superman, Man of Steel, when Calville goes into the thing, and it comes to attack Lois, and it kind of punctures a hole in her side, and she's like, "Oh, my belly!" And after that, it's pretty much gonna hurt her. And he grabs it, and he kind of bends it up into a little thing. Well, that little thing like that, that's like a defense mechanism that kind of just sits there all quiet. But when there's an attacker comes in, it transforms. So it's kind of saying that the germs live in our body, and it's part of us, what makes us what we are. They begin to learn this so well that they actually start thinking about it in terms of like when you have probiotics and stuff like that. We have probiotics. We have to have the good bacteria as well as the bad bacteria. They've learned over the course of history that if you do like the antibacterial stuff, antibacterial takes away the good as well as the bad. And what happens is that it starts working against you. So the thing is, they start learning about the probiotics and have the probiotics, yogurts and stuff like that, trying to put the good gut stuff into your gut, so your gut is all good. So what happens is that when your body is good, your body does wonderful things. So that's really an interesting thing because if your body is not so good, it doesn't do so wonderfully. Anyway, it says continue to read. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just want to kind of read a couple more things. It says the microzyma change into a bacterium or virus, which immediately goes to work to rid the body of this harmful material. When the bacteria or viruses have completed their task of consuming the harmful material, they automatically revert to their microzyma stage. Let's see, it's called Hidden Facts by Ian Sinclair, page 62. Bechamp himself wrote, "I draw the conclusion that normal air never contains morbid microzyma, or what used to be called germs of disease, and are now called microbes, maintaining in accord with the old medical aphorism, general truth, that disease are born of us and in us, that no one has ever been able to communicate a characteristic disease of the non-zoological class, scientific class of disease, such as anthrax, smallpox." Yeah, this machine is fighting with me. Okay, so I'll try and be quick. It's probably getting to that time of night where the machine starts fighting with me. Okay, so here it goes. True that disease are born of us and in us, that no one has ever been able to communicate a characteristic disease of the non-zoological class, scientific class of disease, such as anthrax, smallpox, typhoid fever, cholera, plague, tuberculosis, hydrophobia, syphilis, etc., by taking the germ in the air, but they are isolated from a patient at some particular moment. Bechamp's academic records include Master of Pharmacy, Doctor of Science, Doctor of Medicine, Professor of Medical Chemistry and Pharmacy at Montpellier, Fellow and Professor of Physics and Toxicology at Strasbourg, High School of Pharmacy, Professor of Chemistry at Strasbourg, Professor of Biology and Chemistry, and Dean of Faculty of Medicine of Lille, etc., etc. So, really quick, I'll read just a little bit more and I'll go into more details. Pleomorphism versus monomorphism. Pleomorphism means many forms, many or more forms of bodies capable of changing from one type of organism to another. This is in contradiction to the distinction by monomorphism, which means one mono body or form. Modern medicine bacteriology is founded in the idea of monomorphism, which once a germ is a particular germ, it always stays that way. According to this way of thinking, a streptococcal germ is always a streptococcus. It's only one has only one form and doesn't change into anything else. However, that's not true. Streptococcal germs and many other kinds of germs, bacteria and viruses can and do change into other forms, proven to occur by many. Since the early 1800s, including Antoine Bechamp and others, even modern medicine recognized that bacteria viruses change into stronger ones, becoming resistant to antibiotic drugs. Isn't that amazing? Pleomorphism is a concept discovered in the early 1800s. It shows that germs, bacteria, and viruses come from the inside the body, and the tiny dots you see in the blood with any microscope, these tiny dots, of course, are the colloidals of life or protists. Let's see, pleomorphism is a concept that today sounds very strange, but pleomorphism is, however, cannot be denied at the vast amount of data that has been obtained over the last 180 years, confirm what modern microbiologists are rediscovering today. As noted, many people have been involved in this debate for a long time. Tiny microbes are tiny dots in our blood that change from the microorganisms that clean up the garbage, dead cells, toxin, and the like. This is what bacteria, germs, and viruses are for. They change first into viruses, then into bacteria, and finally into fungal forms. Each of these stages is progressively more hostile to surrounding tissue cells. Germs, all microbes, microorganisms, viruses, bacteria, fungi, and everything in between are the result, not the cause of disease. Louis Pasteur was wrong. His idea was that bacterial cause of disease was wrong. If germs are there as a result, not a cause, then treat the result germs with antibiotics is in theory and in fact wrong. The basic misconception about disease affects all aspects of medicine. This is why this is a new biology, even though it has been proven by many doctors and scientists starting in the early 1800s. Bechamp states in an address before the Academy of Medicine on the 30th of May 1870 that nothing is more obscure than the cause which presides over the development of disease and their communicability. But what we can affirm is that when we are sick, it is we who suffer, and that the suffering is a cruel reality. That is because the cause of our disease condition is always within ourselves. External cause contribute to the development of the affliction, and hence the disease, only because they have brought about some material modification to the medium, our body, animals, and even soil, in which we live the ultimate particles of the organism matter, which constitutes us, namely the microzymes. These external causes, by a succession of changes brought about and depending on a crowd of variables, bring about correlated a further change, which then bears precisely upon the physiological and chemical status of the microzymes. The living being filled with microzymes carries in itself the element essential for life, disease, death, and destruction. Note: Bechamp called the tiny microbes microzymes, while Gaston Nissens called them stomatids, and Gunther Enderlein called them protids. So, I'm going to stop there. What he's saying really quickly is this, right? There's one form that says, there's a guy, he talked about it before, I'm a doctor, and he said about, like, if you study the dolphins all your life, you have a thing where when the dolphins are living and you've been looking at dolphins and studying them, then all of a sudden you start seeing that the whole community of dolphins are getting sick. You begin to wonder, is it what's up? Why are the dolphins sick? You can do one of three things. One, you can say, let me study one individual dolphin and try and find out what's wrong with it. Two, I can study if there's a disease between the two dolphins. Or three, you can figure maybe there's something in the water. And so what we've been kind of trying to figure out is what's in the water, because based on a couple of studies that we've heard with the same people, I'm going to put all the links to everything in this description too, so you'll be able to see all the links that we have had and all those points that are coming to that about why there's something else going on, and they are just, pretty much there's poison in the water for us. So if, for example, you were to be exposed to radiation poisoning, right? Everybody who was exposed to the same radiation poisoning would develop a cancer. Now, was it the cancer that developed the radiation? No, it's the cancer developed in response to the radiation. So, for example, if you would open some nuclear explosion and we were able to survive it somehow, or a nuclear leakage from a power plant somewhere, 3 Mile Island or something. And what happens is that it was able to leak into the water, or like even lead poisoning. We know something's in the water, and it causes us to respond to a lead poison type situation. So it's something that outside comes into us, and that changes, and we start developing symptoms from our body. So our body responds in kind. So they said these little creatures that live inside of us, they're there to fight and to get rid of and clear the cell. So they're saying like almost like I was thinking about this like there's an aspect of like when you see all the ladies that live together in like a dorm or a school, they end up having their cycle, their menstruation cycle at the same time. It's like our bodies communicate with each other. So, if for example you have two people, a person that comes to this time of season, this time of the year, they start having symptoms of what we call flu symptoms or flu-like symptoms. What would happen is that they start developing, and it would also trigger somebody else's body to say, hey, you know what, you need to have some flu symptoms too. Not because the person I sneezed on you, and the other person sneezed on them, and then they got sick from that. And this, now I don't know the 100% cases. I'm not a doctor, so I can't say 100% like I know this. I'm just saying this is what, based on how I understand it to be, is that one of the things is that you have stuff inside you that responds to the environment, and the another person has that response to the environment too. And there's stuff that our bodies respond to each other, even though we're distant 6 feet apart. So, like for example, my daughters, and my wife, they have their cycle all the same around the same time. So we got a house. No, actually, no, they're not really crazy. They've been really cool. They haven't tried to attack me or kill me or anything like that. So that's great. But for the most part, though, they're kind of within sequence of each other. They have like things happen. So it's like your body's able to communicate. So for example, is it hard to believe that maybe if somebody's having a flu symptom, somebody else is gonna have a flu symptom too, and then never the twain shall meet? Is it possible? Or could it be something else that's in the air as well? That your body gives off different symbols and different things like that, and tells your other body it's in the same situation too. You don't do that. It's like birth control. Birth control tells your body that you're pregnant. So what happens? You start acting like you're pregnant, so you can't so you won't get pregnant. You know. But it's actually tricking the body. And so scientists have been doing this for a while. So should we have a thing, for example, if it's a radiation type thing, let's say, for example, you do live under power lines, or you live somewhere where there's radiation, or like they have in 1918, where they had the influx of AM, FM radio, and they started bringing it to the world. People started reacting to that. People started having body reactions to that. As a matter of fact, they said that when you begin to understand how these things work, you begin to say that, okay, you know what, this is interesting because you have a scenario where there's poison in the water and it's affecting the people. It's affecting the people because it's causing everybody to react a similar fashion. Now, I don't know 100% about everything. Again, I don't know all about the COVID, um, you know, the COV, the thing. And so what happens is I don't know about it, so I don't know. But they say that there's a certain aspect where you have things that are inside you already, and it could be. There's also another thing to talk about the exosomes. That one of Dr. Andrew Kaufman talked about exosomes and how when your lungs get hurt, they produce this thing called exosome. And an exosome, what it is kind of like a thing that kind of gobbles up whatever that thing is causing pain or whatever it is, and it just kind of dissolves it. And so it's a pretty interesting thing. So it's you find exosomes, and that's the whole thing. I was talking about it before, like a couple weeks ago, and I'm learning a little bit more now. So I'm trying to figure out how to make it all work out because with everything in light of what I'm trying to say, I have this machine, this air purifier machine that kills stuff on surfaces. And there's actually another doctor talked about how it's good to play in the dirt because the dirt gives your body and different microbes and different biomes. And they say the best thing you could do is open a window and change the biome of your home. So this machine, this EcoQuest machine, this is a Vollara fresh air surround, that pretty much I showed you before. This machine, what it can do, it cleans the environment and it leaves behind the good bacteria. But at the same time, though, I'm not 100% sure if it's only good bacteria leaves behind, but it could actually just do a complete, septic, an antiseptic kind of a thing where it completely clears the whole thing. Now, I had this machine for many years. Now, this one, not this one, this is a new one. But the one that I have that's in the background is playing, I've had that machine for a number of years, and it's been good for my family. It's protected us from a lot of things, where we live. It protects us from mold and mildew as well as for fungus and sicknesses. And whenever I come home from work, I don't have to worry about Lysoling down the whole house. I just have the machine on. And you don't have to worry about anything that's not COVID-19 attack me or bother me or whatever. So what happens is like this is there's an aspect where I am still trying to figure all this out myself, but I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the whole scenario or situation. I am not going around being cautious or fearful. I'm just, I'm watching all this, and it says do not be afraid. We need to trust the Lord anyway. And so what happens is like I'm trying my best to keep my immune system high because they say a friend of mine she once said she said something interesting. She said about the what the animals do that go on and eat stuff. For example, they talk about the long-eared beetle and stuff like that. They said about how the long-eared beetle, or the one that kills the trees, you know. He said the one that kills trees. He said those beetles, what they do, they look for the weak trees. They look for the strong trees, look for the weak ones, you know. Those that are already weak and compromised. So that made me think about like just kind of tying everything together, because you know, I remember there was another doctor, her name was Dr. Lorraine Day, and she talked about how cancer doesn't scare her anymore, right? Until she had cancer, she had breast cancer, and she was able to diagnose herself, and she was able to boost her immune system and beat cancer. And they want to do what they do in medicine is they either want to burn it out with chemotherapy. They want to actually burn it out with radiation. They want to poison it out with chemotherapy, and they want to cut it out with surgery. And that's how they do so. That's how they make their money. You know, kind of like how the birth industry today. It's like instead of it being like, you know, a normal birth, everybody has to have a cesarean because of complications. So it's weird. All my kids were born through cesarean. You know, they weren't born naturally. So none of my kids were born. They were all snatched out. Okay, how's that? So the thing is, so I have the kids were never born. They were just snatched. Okay, but that's beside the point. That's, you know, kind of funny. But the thing is that you have it where the thing is like they talked about like how in the case of Lorraine Day, she had a thing where these things were she was able to change her biome, her body, her internal biome, and be able to deal with cancer. She actually said that, you know what, the American Cancer Society has in their bylaws that said if they were ever to find a cure to cancer, they would disband. So there's no incentive for them to stop being, you know, the Cancer Society, because they get money for every time they do something, or they continue to get money. And so, you know, and they get the little marathons, and they get their support, they get people their endorsement and their endorsement, I was say impeachment, endorsements and their support for people and celebrities for just being existing. But what happens is that you have a scenario where it's like they're not really finding the cure. And so the cure, they say that we in our bodies, we actually have cancer cells. We have cancer cells that live in our body, and they're there. And sometimes something, external factors, activates them. And that's not hard to believe. That's like saying, like, you know, we talk about the moon and the sun. It says, we have no problem believing the moon goes around the earth. Why can't we believe the sun goes around the earth too? It's like, I mean, I always talk about that. It says, why is it so hard for people to understand that? It's like, you know. So, I mean, yet the moon can go around the earth. Why not the sun? So, that's beside the point. But they always have other signs they have thrown there because they have their agendas and they got their peer review studies.